anytime she's in a setting like this, or if you're in her office or with her at eating lunch, and she starts to share about what she does, it is so evident she is doing exactly what God made her to do. The passion that comes out of her, the heart of Christ, is the coolest thing. So I'm so excited for y'all to get to hear from her. I love her.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to start by showing y'all a client testimony video that we taped about a year ago, because I think it sets us up really well for our discussion today. So if you'll roll that.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I am currently working full-time at a daycare in Conway, and I'm also a part-time college student. I found out I was pregnant back in March, and I came here probably about 4 days later. When I first came here, I came here with the father of the child, and I just talked to one of the workers here. She talked me through all the different options, and on that day, she had offered if I wanted to do the free ultrasound, but that day I wasn't ready to see everything. I needed to take it pieces at a time. And,
Sorry.
Is it okay?
Yeah, touch me.
and so we left.
And attach
We
it to
had
my
talked about
necklace. Would
it.
that help?
He was more so for one thing, and I still, it gave me uneasy feelings about that option. He wanted me to have an abortion. Sorry. And I just wasn't okay with that. So then he went back home because he lives 2 hours away, and our relationship just it went downhill from there. I texted Miss Laura and asked her if I could schedule for the free ultrasound, and she said of course. And so it was a Wednesday that I came up here, and I came up here by myself because he wouldn't come, and I heard her heartbeat for the first time, and my say in it was that I was going to keep her. I called him right after I got out, and I told him everything that from what I saw on ultrasound, she looked good. I heard her heartbeat. I sent him videos, the pictures that I got, and he still just, he finally said okay and went with it. But then, about a week or 2 later, I found out that he was seeing somebody else. So we broke up, and I currently have not spoken to him since April. He has not talked to me about the child at all. But once I finally told my family, everything just was so much better. And Miss Laura would constantly check up on me. She'd send text messages. She would call me. I sent her pictures of whenever I had the gender reveal. Whenever I first found out I was pregnant, I came across Life Choices online whenever I was trying to search my options that I had. And I immediately called here, and they told me that I could come in then or whenever I got back in town, and I did. And it really helped me because, like, if I talked to my parents, it just in one way, but whenever I came here, I had somebody to talk to who did not know me, who did not know where I came from. She just saw me as a person and saw what I was going through and how just all my emotions were just packed in at once, and she was really there for me, and I couldn't thank her enough.
Okay, you can cut it off. So that is one testimony of how a client situation might go down in a pregnancy resource center. Okay, so obviously Caitlin was young, she was in college, the guy was in college, away from their families. So that's one scenario that we can see. But there's a lot of different scenarios that pregnancy centers deal with. And my goal today is to equip you, because you guys are frontline ministry, right? People come and they talk to you about their situation and what's happening in their families, what's happening in their lives. And I want you to have resources at your disposal to be able to adequately help them the way you want to, okay? And the thing is, you don't have to do that alone, right? Specifically in this space regarding issues around unplanned pregnancy, I want you to walk out of here today equipped, knowing what a pregnancy resource center can do for you and how you can partner with them, okay? That's my goal today, and I'm open to questions, and I'm trying to reserve enough time for us to have some really good discussion at the end. But I want to walk through, Caitlin did a good job talking about her experience and the services she had, but I want to walk through usually what pregnancy centers do and what they offer. I realize not all of you are from Conway, and so I'm going to try to keep it broad enough so that you can kind of understand what most likely the pregnancy center in your area offers. I did bring a list of pregnancy centers that are close to all the New Life campuses, okay? So wherever you're at, there's a pregnancy center. I matched y'all up back there, so you can take that list and reach out to your pregnancy center if you haven't already established a relationship with them. But I handed y'all this brochure, again, not because I'm trying to promote Life Choices today, but because it has a good list in there of the services that pregnancy centers typically offer. So if you fold it, it's kind of in the middle, that green page. So I want us to walk through that because I think, unfortunately, even though pregnancy centers have existed basically since 1978, 1980, right after Roe came into place, there's still a lot of people that don't know what pregnancy centers do or how they can help them in their life. So one of the things that we do, and she alluded to, we do pregnancy tests. And you might think, well, you can get that anywhere. Yes, you can. But the benefit of them coming to see us is that we get to sit down with them and talk to them about their situation. What stressors are in their life? Who's pressuring them to make decisions they're not comfortable with? What's their living situation? What's their economic situation? What's their spiritual situation? Everybody on that list, I can say, we are faith-based, okay? So your pregnancy centers, you're sending them, if you refer someone to a pregnancy center, at least that we're associated with, you're sending them to a safe place where they're not going to hear or be referred for abortion, right? Or, any of the woke things that you might be worried about sending them to a social service agency they might hear. That's not going to happen at a pregnancy center. So I want to say that up front. So we do pregnancy tests, and while we're doing that, again, we're getting to know her and her situation and what's happening in her life. Then most pregnancy centers in Arkansas, and I feel like everyone on the list, offers limited ultrasound, meaning that we have partnered with a local doctor, and we're operating under their medical license, and we have licensed nurses or sonographers performing these ultrasounds so that these girls and guys, if their partner is with them, for our clientele, it's about 75% that come in alone or with a friend or a female family member, and 25% that come in with their partner, okay? So a huge majority of these ladies not with their partner, especially on that first visit. Now, we could get him to come on the second visit, but usually he's not with them in the beginning. So we're doing those ultrasounds so they can see that baby early on in the womb, hear that heartbeat, and recognize that there's a life growing inside of them. And usually, guys, that is a huge turning point for their decision making. Now, I would say if the guy is there, and y'all will probably agree with me, gentlemen, if the guy is there and he sees that visual, that's reality, that is truth, That's his baby. It's very concrete for them, which is why we love having the guys for the ultrasound. For the woman, we're very emotional creatures. And so even that isn't always enough in that first visit. But if we can get her back again for a second ultrasound, maybe, if she hasn't gotten into a doctor, that's going to continue to build that relationship. So we're doing those ultrasounds. And I'm trying also to dispel some myths that are being said right now about pregnancy centers. So you heard me say that we're operating under a doctor's care, that the people doing the ultrasounds are trained, and like in our case at Life Choices, it's only RNs. There's no one, I don't do ultrasounds because I'm not an RN. So the people doing ultrasounds are qualified to do that. So I just want to, I'm trying to equip y'all too to dispel some of the myths that are being said out there about the wonderful things that pregnancy centers do. And I didn't say this in the beginning, all of this is free, y'all. Free services to the community, and we don't ask for insurance, income. There's none of that. Like, none of that matters to us. Why? Because we're there to help that woman, that baby, that family, okay? And that's our goal. That's all we care about. Like, we don't, and I don't think there are very many organizations that are that pure in heart. And so I love that about this work. I love that about what we do. Okay, I got to keep moving or we're not going to have time for questions. Post-abortion support is something else that a lot of pregnancy centers do. We have a post-abortive support group is what we call it, but it's really a Bible study. It's a 10-week study that walks them through the grieving process. It is beautiful. I've done a lot of things in ministry, guys. I've been at Life Choices 18 years. I don't know if we said that, but and I've got to do a lot of different things. You know, through church I've served at and different things. But I'm telling you, there is something special about post-abortion healing. It is this beautiful. I mean, salvation is this beautiful transformation, but this is. I mean, you think about people being held in bondage, wrapped with chains for sometimes decades of lies and guilt and shame, and being freed from that. Very few things compare with that. And so I would just say, if someone comes to you, or maybe you're in counseling sessions with them and they open up and say that abortion was a choice they made in their past, there are resources for that. And I can direct you to those if that's something you want to walk her through, or you're welcome to send her our way. All of that, again, is confidential, and like so confidential that I don't even always meet at the center with them. Like, if they don't want like someone from their church to know that they were there or whatever, like, we've done that a lot of different ways to keep her feeling safe about that healing process. There's also another ministry, it's called Deeper Still, and they've started offering in Arkansas. They've been doing it in other states for a while. Arkansas has been doing it about 3 years, I think, but it's weekend retreat healing. So for people that maybe can't commit to the 10 weeks, or that seems like too overwhelming on their schedule, whatever, and they also facilitate for men too. So because this issue affects all of us, and so that is a great resource as well if you want to jot that down, or you can always reach out to me later if you were to need that. But statistics say 1 in 4 women in America will have had an abortion by the age of 45. And I think that's conservative statistic. I think it's probably closer to 1 in 3. So the fact that we don't talk about abortion and we don't talk about healing is a problem, because there's a lot of people in our ministries, in our circles, that are suffering. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of taboo around this issue, where they don't feel like they can come out and talk about it. And so if you are a ministry leader and you can create that safe space, maybe by bringing up other things as well. That's in a list of things, right? If you've experienced any of these things in your past, we have resources for you. Or, just putting that out there, because there's a lot of folks suffering. And this is one of those areas I get really passionate about because I've seen it. These women are heroes. After they've been healed, they will speak. And I also think, y'all, that empowering them to share their story would turn the tide on this issue in our country. If they had the platform, I think it would wake people up, because it was not good for them. It was not health care. It was not, it just blows the platform of the left away. So again, if you want to talk about more about that, I would love that. So we also talked to them about prenatal care, that they need to get in to see a doctor soon. Now, obviously, this is after they've made a life decision, right? And we know that they're going to carry that baby. Then we're talking about what doctor are you going to use. We have a list of doctors, just making sure they get in for that prenatal care, which we know is so essential for a healthy baby, healthy mom. But again, in some circles, that's not like accepted knowledge, right? And so bringing that in and saying, like, listen, who are you going to choose for a doctor? And just having that conversation with them is something that we can do as well. Now, if when she comes in for that initial visit, and she either asks for information on abortion, or she brings it up that boyfriend wants to abort, or mom is pressuring, you wouldn't believe how many times it's mom or grandma that's pressuring for the abortion. And honestly, I think a lot of times there's so much deception around this issue, right? They think they're doing what's best for them. And so you can't really attack that, but you can educate her about that, what abortion risk and procedures, what that really is. And so we have that in the center. We have medical information that we can go over with her, or she can take home and read to educate herself about the choice that she's considering, or someone else is considering for her. Obviously, we also talk about abstinence, and we get to go into schools sometimes and present on abstinence if they're open to that, or just about what we do. So that's something else that you can rest assured that your pregnancy center is committed to. None of us are handing out contraception. None of us are saying that's okay. So just know that, like, that's not anything you have to worry about either. We also always bring up the idea of adoption. If she's uncertain about what she's going to do, we go there with her in a gentle way, so that plants a seed for her. And sometimes they want the information. Most pregnancy centers like ours, we have at least 3 adoption agencies that we will have brochures and information on if that's an option that they want to explore. And we offer, like us personally, we offer our building as a neutral spot where they could meet with one of these adoption counselors and get their questions answered. Because then they already know us, so we're safe for them. So if we can give them space in our building for them to meet with that person, maybe that helps alleviate some concern around that. And all the adoption agencies that we use are faith-based. They are not referring or partnering with same-sex couples in the adoptions. That's just a line we're not going to cross. They also are very pro-birth mom, meaning they're going to offer her support, medical help, housing, counseling both before and after the adoption. Because again, you think about it, it's the most selfless decision anyone can make. And so we need to be supporting her in every way possible to do that. So information about adoption is also something that we have, and referrals. Then most pregnancy centers also, and I keep saying most because I can't promise you everybody does what we do. So that's why I'm like, most. So most of us have some type of education program. So let's say she comes in, like Caitlin, she's uncertain, she makes a life choice for her baby and herself, I would say. And then we're going to walk with her through that pregnancy and the birth of that baby to support her. Again, a lot of these girls are either away from family, or their family isn't in a place where they can be a super supportive thing for them. So having other Christian people to walk alongside them is so good for them and empowering. And 2, y'all know this from being in small groups and different things, when you can walk through a season of life with other people going through that season of life, there's just something affirming about that. And so through our parenting classes that we offer, the girls get that community, right? So the way it works at our center, again, it's different at every center. We do group classes once a month, and we bring in experts from the community to teach on different topics. So we'll have a nutritionist, we'll get a labor and delivery nurse to come and do labor and delivery class. We've done baby care basics. Glover Fitness came and did pregnancy yoga. Like, we throw some fun stuff in there. The girls love it. They love coming. But, okay, so this is killing several birds with one stone, right? So they're getting support and education, right? Encouragement from their peers. Plus, they also earn things for their baby that they may need. So we have a little baby boutique store, and most centers have something like this, and that is filled with donated items that come in from the community. So, and they can shop for clothes for their baby. We do brand new car seats if they earn the points for that, which usually that's the ticket item they're needing. Because I would say, while we see girls from all over the spectrum economically for like the pregnancy test and the ultrasound, when they're trying to decide, right? We're going to see girls, we've had girls roll up in convertibles, we've had, all kind, working women, women with careers, but usually the people that stick it out for the parenting classes, they're there because they need the stuff, guys. Their life is chaotic, typically, and they really need those diapers and those clothes and that car seat. Like that's how they're going to take care of their baby. So by them earning it, though, what are we doing? We're affirming them as a mom or dad in this parenthood journey, which they need. And we're giving them community, but we're also giving them those tangible physical things that they need for that baby. And we're ensuring that the baby gets what it needs to, right? So I love that part of what we do. And we do that up through the baby being a year old. So if she comes in early in her pregnancy, that's almost 2 years of relationship with her, walking that road with her and affirming her journey. At our center, we also do STD testing. We partner with the health department. They actually approached us because they were so overwhelmed that they asked us to be a provider of the testing. So we take the samples there, send it to the health department. They run it through the lab in Little Rock, get back the results. We, again, get to reach out to her, have a relationship with her through that. We don't do treatment in our clinic. They go back to the health department for that. But again, it's one more service that we can offer her that, again, she needs. If she's sexually active, she needs that for her health and the health of her baby if she's pregnant, right? So, and I already talked about the material assistance when I was talking about the parenting program. Something else, like we have this, making sure my microphone's good. We have happened more recently, and maybe it's the economic situation, I don't know, but women coming in desperate circumstances, their power's going to be shut off. We had that in the summer, and she had a newborn. She had been on, this is her story, she had been on bed rest, so she couldn't work. Father's MIA, her mom lives with her, so no support there. So this girl, she has her other baby was 2, and then she's pregnant, has the baby, and then next month gets the notice her power's going to be shut off because she's behind on her bills because she hasn't been able to work. I mean, that's the reality of some of their situations. So our donors pitched in. We were able to catch her up on her electric, so that wasn't a stressor for her anymore, and she was working on getting back to work. So that was one situation. We had another situation a week ago. Mom came in homeless, on a wait list for shelter, but just not available yet. So we put her up in a hotel a few nights. So those are extra things on top of what's happening, just because, yes, we're having them reach out to the other agencies in town that help with this stuff, but they're tapped out too. So, and I think with the fall of Roe, we all kind of woke up to the fact maybe we are going to need to do more. And I think this is part of that more. I think it's going beyond just the diapers and the formula, and like really stepping in there and being like, okay, what's the situation? How can we help you better your situation for your family. And if that requires meeting an immediate need, okay. So just adding that in there because that's something else. And I mentioned before, we do ask a gentle question on our intake that says something like, how would you describe your relationship with God? Close, distant, would like to be better. I don't know. It has a couple of different options there. So they get to kind of indicate where they are on that journey. And then we can speak into that if they're open to that. Obviously, if that's a closed door, we're just going to pray for the Spirit to move on that through how she's being loved and respected at our center. And we've seen that happen. So, but again, for those girls that are already open to or having a spiritual journey, we can enter into that with them. And they'll say, I wish I was back in church. And we're like, we have lots of good churches you could attend. What kind of faith do you, and then helping direct her to somewhere where she would hopefully be comfortable. And then we get those babies in church and hopefully, it's that whole relationship and breaking those cycles that may have existed for a while. But that's, if you pulled back the layers, that's a lot of what pregnancy centers are doing, right? Hopefully, mom may be encouraging abortion because she had an abortion. Grandma may have had an abortion. And so if we can break that cycle and then we get them in church, teach them how to parent. It's awesome. Okay. Obviously, we're loving and encouraging them. And you heard that in Caitlin's testimony. Laura is one of our longtime staffers, and she was reaching out to her, even though Caitlin had moved back with family, was no longer even in Conway. But we continued to reach out to her to make sure she was doing okay. So your pregnancy center is doing that too. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and I've got info back there on this. It's okay, Beth, they can pick it up later. But something else that we offer, and several of the centers on your list offer as well, is abortion pill reversal. And the reason I want to talk to you all a minute about this is because, again, your frontline ministry. A girl may call you and tell you, hey, I took a pill and now I regret it. We can reverse it if they haven't taken the second pill. Okay, so y'all may already know this, but I'm going to break it down for you. The abortion pill procedure right now is 2 pills, okay? They take the first pill, and that stops progesterone from getting to the baby, okay? And then within 24 hours, some of the girls wait about 48, you take the second pill, and that removes the baby from the body, okay? She's going to pass that baby. That's what that pill causes to happen. So abortion pill reversal, what it does is especially within the first 24 hours, if she can get to a center or a doctor that will give her a large dose of progesterone, and we keep that up through the first trimester, 60% chance we can save that baby. So babies are being saved all over the country. It's an amazing thing. So if you are in a conversation with someone and just say, okay, I know where we need to call, let's get you, and they need to do it quickly because, again, the longer they wait, the less likelihood of success we have, right? Because if it's 72 hours, the chances are not as good on saving the baby. We'll try if there's still a heartbeat, but again, so I'm just telling you that because this is rarely heard about. Like, most people don't know that this is happening, that's even possible. Part of that is Google has completely stopped on it. Facebook is they're stifling the message of hope and life. And so we have to be the ambassadors of that, which is what we've always done. So anyway, and if you want something for your prayer list, they are trying to work on making it 1 pill. They're angry that we figured out a way to save babies. So just pray against that. Anyway, God is bigger. So, okay. Any questions on any of that on the services part before we move into how to partner? I know it's a lot, y'all, but I'm just trying to give you lots of good stuff.
This is so good.
Okay.
So much of this I did not know.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to share, because I don't know what people think we do, but it's a lot more than just a pregnancy test. So just know, and the thing that I love about it, y'all know this, sometimes people have been hurt by the church and maybe they're nervous to go back, but like we could be this little bridge thing, right? And we've had people say this, like, y'all are not like any Christians I've ever met. And we're like, well, praise the Lord, I guess, because obviously you met some bad ones. But, and we don't say that, obviously. You may think that, but just like, well, I'm glad that you love it here. And, you know, there are churches out there that are like us, you know, that are going to love you and love your baby. And let's find you one of those. So that part of it is there too. Okay, so let's talk about how to partner. I think one of the biggest things is just knowing this information, right? And being able to refer in moments that it's applicable, which that could be a struggling single mom, that could be unplanned pregnancy, that could be a post-abortive woman. We went through it. There's lots of different scenarios where a pregnancy center might be your best referral. So I think remembering that, number one. Number two, like, as much as we can figure out how to talk about this issue in an educational way, especially with our young people. So I did a really cool thing. It's been a few years ago at a church here in town, but the youth minister, he did a 3-part series. First night, he talked about abortion from a biblical perspective, what God says about abortion. Second night, he had myself, and I brought one of our post-abortive ladies who's been through the healing, but she had her abortion when she was 17. And so she shared her testimony, and I shared about what Life Choices does. Again, we're just trying to open their minds, educate them. And he, very perceptive young youth minister, he had set up an app where they could submit anonymous questions while we were talking. He got so many questions, he said, can y'all come back another night? And so we just did Q&A. He sent us the questions, we prepared our responses, and we just did Q&A that third night. So I feel like if we can do more of that with our college ministries, with our youth, that is going to empower them to be able, one, to make a good decision for themselves if they ever find themselves in that situation, or to speak life into their friends, right? Because they're going to go out onto these college campuses and wherever, and their roommate may come in and say, my girlfriend's pregnant. Well, you've empowered them to at least know to call the pregnancy center, right? And maybe even to speak some scripture or some life or some truth into that situation. So I think we have to do more of that to equip our kids with truth on this issue. And then same thing, talking about it in our groups, bringing it up as, is this something you need healing for? Like, is this, you know, just like anything else, we all have things in our past that we need healing from. And there's resources for you. So I think that's another way of figuring out how we bring that up in conversation with folks. And I would say, and I've said this to counselors as well, like licensed, you need to be asked, like if you're going to counsel with someone and they're coming to you with anxiety or depression or whatever, and you're talking to them about all this, just in your introductory question say, and have you experienced an abortion in your past? Because again, a lot of my ladies who've gone through post-abortive, they were in years of therapy, guys, with Christian therapists, and never did their abortion come up. Because people don't connect it to these side effects that they have in their life, okay? And I have some great books on post-abortive syndrome, if any of you are interested in that. It really it lines out like, okay, this is happening in my life, and then it triggers it back to the abortion. You're talking about self-harm, self-abusing behaviors, a lot of that, perfectionism tendencies. Like it's very interesting once you get into it. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on, we could do the whole thing on post-abortion, but just know that we need to start talking about it, because there are people that if they experience freedom and healing from that, y'all, it would unleash their potential in the church. Think about it. How much of us is walking around handicapped because we haven't been healed from something? And y'all, we've all been in that place where we needed healing from something. And this is an issue that we need healing from in the church. So Obviously, so those are more like things you can do that you can bring up in your conversation and then direct them to the pregnancy center or ask for support on those things. Financial support is always something that your pregnancy center is going to need. And because we're operating most of the time just on donations, there may be some grant money sprinkled in there, but it's primarily donations. So again, everything that comes into our baby boutique is a donation. All the diapers we give out, wipes, like all of that comes in on donation. So if you're looking for a service project, if you're looking for something for your people to be able to feel like they're making a difference in this issue, do a little like baby shower activity. Like that can be really fun. And your pregnancy center director would probably come and receive those gifts and do pictures and whatever. You know, you can make it really fun, but something that they feel like they're making a meaningful impact onto this issue. Also, like we have a prayer text group where you would get prayer text if we had a girl in considering abortion. Now, it doesn't happen every time because sometimes we're just in the moment and we forget to text. But, or other things that are happening what time are we done?
Next lab's at 1:30.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to stop and take questions then since we've got 10 minutes.
Yeah, my lab is the next one, so we can pick up. We can do anything.
Oh, that's funny.
Curious to know the curriculum that you guys are using as they're walking through that grieving process.
Sure. There are several different books out there. It's called Her Choice to Heal. It's by Sidna Massey. She's post-abortive herself. And there's also Surrendering the Secret is one that's out. Forgiven and Set Free is the oldest curriculum, still used by lots of pregnancy centers. So there are several options on that. That's the one that we use. The Lord took me to that one when I'd been on the job 2 weeks, fresh out of seminary. And this woman shows up and she's crying, and the staff, who are training me, right, because I'm new to this work, they're training me how to do this, and they're like, she won't quit crying, we don't know what to do with her. I'm like, well, bring her to my office, I'll pray with her, right? I knew I could do that. And so that night, I took a speed reading course in seminary. So that night, I read every resource in that center on post-abortion. And the Lord drew me to that book. And since then, as other ladies, our post-abortive ladies have been healed, I've been like, well, there's a new resource. Read this and tell me what you think. And they'll be like, no, we still like ours better. Like, they'll read them, we go through them, like, look at it, evaluate. We still are led back to that one. So I don't know if that's just us but I'm not, saying anything against the other ones. But it's all, like the one that we use, there's a ton of scripture, but it's not too deep that someone who doesn't have a church background couldn't understand and digest. And we actually had a girl come to Christ going through the study, because there's a section where you tell your testimony, and we got to that day and she looked at me and she goes, Maria, I don't have a story like this. And I was like, and Jackie, my co-leader, she looked at me like this, she was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, that's okay, because what is one of the things we do? We share the gospel in the center. So I knew how to do that. I could do that with her. And so we had that conversation, and 2 weeks later at our meeting, she was like, I read this cool verse. I want to read it to y'all. We were like, okay. She read John 3:16 as if it was a revelation, y'all. And she said, and I prayed to accept him as my Savior. And so, again, anything can happen when you're open to what the Lord's doing in somebody's life, right? Okay, other questions?
I have a question for you. If you said you've been doing it for about 18 years and you have on the back material items, if you guys had to pick like the top 3 items
Yeah.
that you guys could physically have, what would be those top 3 items of materials that you want?
I would say, I've got 2 mamas right now that need formula. I could give you the brand of the like your pregnancy center is going to have very specific things that they need. If you call them, they'll have like a girl that needs, like We have one mama right now that needs a convertible car seat because this is her second, and so she needs to move her other one up, and then she'll have the infant. I mean, so there's very specific things, but car seats are always a big one. Diapers typically, wipes, and then there may be like certain formulas or things like that that a specific client needs that she can't get from WIC or whatever. Great question, though. Thank you.
I have one. I work
Yeah.
closely with college students. I actually went to college with Kaylin.
Wow.
So that was...
We have permission to use her testimony. I'm just saying that out loud.
So I guess my question is like, if, let's say, a college student gets pregnant and they do move back home, wherever that might be, do you guys continue to reach out to them too, even if they do?
We do. We try to link them up with the pregnancy center in their area, which that helps me so much. There's a hotline. It's called optionline.org, I think is the website. But you can go on that, type in a zip code, and it will bring up the pregnancy centers closest to you, okay? So if you have, let's say one of your college students moves off somewhere else, or one of your youth moves off to go to college somewhere else, and they call you, be like, okay, we can find a pregnancy center near you. And Students for Life, I just found this website yesterday. It's called Standing With You. Thinking it's .org, could be .com. Anyway, Standing With You. It does the same thing, like I can type in their area code, but it also brings up adoption resources, housing resources, all kinds of referral stuff. So that's a really cool website that they've put together. Okay, optionline.org, and then Standing With You. Now I'm going to say .org, but it could be .com. Okay. But yeah, really good. But we try to link them up with somebody who's going to be able to walk with them physically, even if we're still following up with them occasionally. Yeah. Anybody else?
Every pregnancy center work with a group of churches around?
Yes. There are a few pregnancy centers that are like a specific denomination kind of runs them. So they're a little more limited in how much they can do with other churches. But most of us are completely non-denom, like open to, I mean, we're supported by the Catholics, the Baptists, y'all, other, non-denom. I've got some Church of Christ churches, Nazarene, like it's so beautiful. And I love that about this work too. It shows what the church can do when we work together. Okay. This has been great. My cards are back there. I've got a couple of other resources back there too, but if you have any follow-up you want with me, I would love to do that. Or reach out to your pregnancy center director. They're all fabulous, wonderful people who love Jesus and babies, so you're going to love them. So, thanks guys. It's been great.